Colton Underwood has finally come out of the closet. Yes, y'all, he is more queer than a $3 bill. Hi everyone, my name is Dimitri and welcome back to DimitriTube. Bachelor Nation is a whole entire mess right now. Let's talk about it. As I promised, if Bachelor Nation got messy, I would post a video. I apologize to all of you for the delay, but I do have a good excuse. I got a promotion at work. Thank you. I appreciate the love. And Wednesdays and Thursdays are my most hectic days, hence why I love that The Bachelor airs on Mondays. Like, I didn't even get to watch the interview until 11 p.m. on Wednesday. But I am here, I have watched the video, and I have thoughts on it, and I can't wait to dive into it with you all. Also, as an added bonus, I'm going to talk about what Matt James has been up to as well, and it's just as messy. So make sure you stay tuned until the end. So as always, if you're enjoying my videos, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. And before we get started, trigger warning. If you're looking for a video where I say,
Colton is so strong and so brave for coming out, I applaud him for living his truth,
well, you have come to the wrong place. In this video, I'm going to give my real opinion, and applauding Colton is not how I feel about this situation. So if you're not ready to hear a different perspective or you don't want to hear a different opinion, please go ahead and click off this video. Let's dive in and get started. So unless you've been living under a rock this week, I'm sure you've heard the news. Colton Underwood has finally come out of the closet. Yes, y'all, he is more queer than a $3 bill.
Yup.
And not only that, he did it in the most diva fashion possible. He booked a segment with Robin Waters and came out on Good Morning America. When I heard the news, I was shocked. I wasn't shocked from the news itself, but I was more shocked because Colton is just so far outside of my radar. I completely forgot this man even existed, to be honest. Colton's season aired 2 years ago, but it feels like it happened 5 years ago, and his Instagram account has been deactivated for almost 1.5 years now. Also, Colton's season was very forgettable. The highlight was him jumping over a fence, which we had to watch in the previews every week the entire season, and it ended up being very anticlimactic. But now looking back, maybe that was meant to be a metaphor or an allegory or some other literary device. But in Colton's defense, he did choose a good week to come out because the celebrity news this week has been kind of dry. So a lot of people on Twitter and the blogs were saying, I knew the whole time he was gay. And if you watch my videos, you know that when I picked back up on this show, Colton's season is the first season that I started watching. I'm sure some of y'all are wondering, when I was watching Colton's season, I didn't think he was gay, but I did feel like something was not adding up. Let me explain, and I do want to talk about this before I dive into the interview. So Colton said he was a virgin before going on his season of The Bachelor, and that was one of the big storylines of his season. And Colton was also a former football player. And initially I thought it was a religious thing, but on the show he specifically said it was not a religious thing, it was just a personal choice that he made for himself. And that did not add up for me. Story time. This will be quick, I swear. So Colton played football for Illinois State. Now, I went to Old Dominion University, go Monarchs. And my freshman year, we had football players on campus, but they were all red shirts, which means they were basically just practicing until the following year when the season officially started. And let me tell y'all, my school did not even have a team yet. Like, this team was not even official. And girls would just throw themselves at these football players. Like, literally just throw themselves. It was crazy. And the campus was not in the hood, but it was like 5 to 10 blocks away from the hood. So it was a little dangerous. Like, there were robberies, multiple car break-ins, and like a few assaults. And even aside from this possible danger, girls would literally go to the football players' dorms at 1 a.m. with just a text message. And my school didn't even have a legit team yet, so I can only imagine a school with an established team. Anyways, so how does this relate to Colton? Well, I'm glad you asked. It was just peculiar to me that Colton was still a virgin after being a star high school football player and being a star college football player at a D1 school. Because I know that women were just throwing themselves at him. So if he had said it was because of religious reasons, that would have made more sense to me, but the fact that he said it was a personal choice, I thought that was kind of weird. But I just let it go, and I continued to watch the season anyway. I watched the interview from the GMA YouTube. I'll post the link below if you have not watched the interview yet. I'm not going to discuss the whole interview, but I'm just going to discuss the parts that I found interesting. Also, keep in mind, this is a typical Good Morning America interview, so it's not too heavy. It's typical lighthearted morning news, so they don't go too deep. So the first thing that Colton says is that the pandemic gave him a lot of time to reflect and not run from himself. So if we didn't have this pandemic, would you not have reached this conclusion? Colton didn't say this in the interview, but I know that Lana Del Rey's Chemtrails Over the Country Club helped him get through this. That album has been out for a month now, and listening to that album on repeat will have anyone coming out and living their full truth. Next, Robin Waters asks Colton, "Some may feel you misled the public and misled those women. How would you respond to these people?" And Colton says, "I do think I could have handled it better. I just wish I hadn't dragged people into my own mess." Let's unpack this. This is not a big mess. This is a huge mess. And you have dragged a ton of people and resources into it. I hated this part of the interview because he really just minimized all of the actions he took when he was lying to himself. He went on not one, not two, but 3 seasons of the Bachelor franchise. And even became the Bachelor himself. There was a famous quote on Twitter released during Matt James' season of The Bachelor, and it said, "Men will literally become the Bachelor instead of going to therapy." And this is just another example of that. So I'm not a huge fan of the mental health campaign that's been pushed on the public in these recent years, but in this instance, I do agree with it. Colton literally chose being the Bachelor over going to therapy. And side note, if I ever have kids, I don't think I'm gonna allow them to play football because between Colton and Matt, I'm really starting to think that CTE thing is real. And if y'all didn't know, ABC spends a lot of money on The Bachelor. Between flying out contestants, going to these exotic locations, and planning all of these expensive dates, it's a lot of money they spend. And literally, 30 women took off work and put their lives on hold to meet this man. And don't get me wrong, there slightly is something in it for them as well, but still. Colton wasted so many people's time, resources, energy, and emotions just to reach this conclusion that he knew in high school, because later in the interview, he says he knew he was attracted to men when he was in high school. And even though he knew he was more attracted to men than women, he still continued to ignore it. And this is why I refer to him as a diva, because to waste all of those people's time and waste so many resources and then come out is just so diva to me. And all of the previous Bachelor and Bachelorette contestants who have spoke on this have all applauded him for how brave he was. Tayshia and Hannah G, who both made top 4 during Colton's season, both wished him the best. But take that with a grain of salt because remember, they both did really well for being on this franchise. But to me, that is just the typical Hollywood response. Nobody wants to ruffle any feathers and be too real because then they would risk losing some Instagram ad revenue. Moving on, next. So after that, Colton says he was in love with Cassie. So first of all, during the interview, they didn't even mention all of the drama that Colton and Cassie had. So if you don't know, I will fill you in really quickly. Long story short, Colton and Cassie broke up, and months later, he stalked her at her apartment and Cassie's parents' home. Colton also put a tracking device on her car. This led to Cassie filing a restraining order against him. So this is my opinion. Feel free to disagree. I don't think Colton was in love with her. I think he was just obsessed with her. He was obsessed with her, and he was obsessed with the idea of having a normal life. So when Cassie broke up with him, Colton saw that as the opportunity for him to have a normal life just slip away. Next, Colton says, "I literally remember praying to God the morning I found out I was the Bachelor and thanking him for making me straight." Roll the clip. Just roll the clip.
I literally remember praying to God the morning I found out that I was a Bachelor and thanking him for making me straight.
Drag me in the comments. I don't care. That was funny. So Colton got picked to be Bachelor in 2018, and it is so funny to me that in 2018, a grown man in America still thinks he can pray the gay away. Now, I was raised Catholic too, so I get it, but it was still funny to me. So after that, in the interview, Colton apologizes to Cassie, but to me, it's too little too late. The psychological damage is done. Anytime Cassie goes to her car now, she probably has to check over her shoulder, and she's probably checking the whole car to make sure there's not a tracker on it. And I'm sorry is not going to fix that overnight. And last thing I want to mention from the interview is Colton says that he has never had an emotional connection with another man. So he's literally going to be like every other gay man on Grindr who's only looking for something physical. Now my thoughts. Literally, this whole thing was a clout chase. When the interview first started, I was like, why is Colton going on GMA? Why not just go on Instagram Live? And soon enough, we found our answer. After the GMA interview was released, we found out Colton is filming a show on Netflix with former Olympian Gus Kenworthy. Gus is an Olympic skier and publicly came out in 2015. It's a reality series, and Gus will appear as Colton's gay guide. It is clear to me, and I'm sure it's clear to all of you, that Colton is not here for the right reasons. So for that, he is getting my first not here for the right reasons of the off season.
I just feel like you're not here for the right reasons.
Yes, Colton is being himself and living his truth. But this feels more like the start of his promotion tour for his new show with Gus. First and foremost, no one's gonna watch this show. Please do not expect it to be a huge hit like Bridgerton. Colton's season of The Bachelor was so mediocre, and he's boring. I don't know why Netflix thought this would be a good idea. Also, why is liberal Netflix, after the Me Too movement, giving a show to a man who stalked his girlfriend and put a tracker on her car, ultimately leading to her filing a restraining order against him? It's almost like they're rewarding bad behavior, but the justification is that it's okay because now he's living his truth. Third thing, this man does not have a job. When he was picked to be the Bachelor, the whole time I was trying to figure out what actually his job was. Whenever they mentioned his job on the show, it was NFL free agent. But he never played in the NFL, and yeah, he wrote a book, but it wasn't like a bestseller or anything. And he did a few ads with Morningstar Farms, but ultimately, I do not understand how this man gets paid. And some of y'all also may say Instagram, but his Instagram has been deactivated for pretty much a year and a half, so I don't think that's it. Honestly, he's probably out of money and Netflix is just throwing him a bone. Fourth, what is a gay guide? I feel like the show is just going to be them doing drugs in the bathroom of some gay bar in West Hollywood, and that's really not much of a storyline. And last thing, Colton got dragged by the gay community. Part of this is interesting because it proves the point of why so many people are so afraid to come out, because they're afraid of all the backlash they're going to get from the gay community, which Colton got a lot of backlash from the gay community. But the biggest issue that gay people have with this whole situation is just that what he did was not even brave. I have some gay friends who came out when they were 12. This man waited until he was 29. So why is that more brave? So here's the issue. Colton is masculine, and he was able to be on 3 seasons of the Bachelor franchise without anyone recognizing that he was gay. People had suspected that something was off, but nobody had suspected that he was gay. So ultimately, he passed as straight. And I'm sure there will be people in the comments saying, oh, he didn't fool me, but that's beyond the point. For the most part, he passed. Whereas for me, I could never do that. If I went on The Bachelor, y'all would immediately clock me and know that I was gay. And I wouldn't be able to hide it. So what is more brave? Being more feminine and being forced to come out because you can't hide? Or hiding for years because it's easier for you to blend in? So I'm just gonna leave it right there. I know Colton is gonna be making more headlines in the future, and the majority of them are probably just gonna be annoying. And literally, last thing I'm gonna say about this, since this happened, Bachelor production is possibly considering having a gay bachelor. And yes, if they do have one, I will send in my audition tape and I will immediately stop eating any and all carbohydrates.
I'm hot and I'm funny. I'm a skinny legend.
Skinny legend?
I'm a skinny legend.
Okay, so before I wrap up this video, I do want to talk about Matt James while I'm here. So if you're just here for the Colton comments, I'm not going to talk about him any further. Matt James is not a good person. He has exhibited enough actions for me to show that he's not a good person. And the further we get into the off season, the more I don't like him. Also, Matt has been in hiding ever since the show ended. Do y'all remember Sex and the City, the movie? After Big left Carrie at the altar, Carrie dyed her hair and then went into hiding in New York City. Well, Matt is doing doing the same thing. Matt has grown a full beard, and wherever he goes, he wears a hoodie or a hat and sunglasses because he doesn't want to be recognized. Like, he's still embarrassed from doing the show. So a few weeks ago, Matt James flew out Rachel Kirkconnell to New York City so they could hang out. And apparently there are receipts because Reality Steve somehow found them. And I was shocked because Matt dragged Rachel so bad in that finale, and Matt repeatedly said Rachel needs to take some time and do the work herself. And he said there was no chance of them getting back together. He couldn't even hug her or forgive her. But a few months later, now he's flying her out to New York City. Keep in mind, y'all, the show ended in February. It's now mid-April. It's only been 2.5 months. Like I said in my previous finale review, if you truly deep down think someone is racist, you do not have to be with them. But he clearly doesn't think she's racist anymore because he's flying her out to New York City. And on the show, he repeatedly told us Rachel needs to do the work, and there's no chance of them getting back together. And for that, Matt James is getting my second not here for the right reasons of the off season.
I just feel like you're not here for the right reasons.
And y'all, it gets worse. So while he's making these plans with Rachel, Matt is also talking to another girl named Grace, who apparently is a former booty call. And Matt is reaching out to the blogs to potentially have this story spun in his favor. So I really don't care that Matt is talking to two women. My problem is he's talking to a woman who he said he was in love with, he wants to marry, he wants her to have his children one day. I feel like there is no going backwards from that. If you're reaching out to a person that you reached to that level with, there's no going backwards. Either you should pick up where you left off, or you should just end it. Especially after you dragged her so hard on TV like that. But it is crystal clear to me that Matt did not have any serious intentions because he was simultaneously talking to another girl while he was talking to Rachel. And what makes it even worse is he goes to the blogs and tries to spin the story in his favor. When celebrities purposely go to the blogs like this to spin information, especially reality stars, it looks so bad to me. And it's just so suspect. Matt, how about you just be a good person, and then you won't have to purposely feed stuff to the blogs? So if you've been following my channel or you realize from this video, I am not a Matt James stan. For all the Matt James stans, I really don't understand why they keep defending this man who continually does this problematic behavior. And a lot of stans keep blaming the show. But this show ended almost 3 months ago. You cannot keep blaming this show for your problematic behavior. These problematic actions are yours and yours alone now. And last thing before I wrap up with the video, not all the Bachelor leads have been a mess. Tayshia Adams recently did a spread with Modeliste magazine, and she is providing us with all the drip. Tayshia looks phenomenal, and I have no choice but to stan. Thank God one of these past leads is not an entire mess right now. And Zach Clark is gassing her in the comments. We love to see it. And that is the end of the video and all I have for you. If you enjoyed this video today, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, and I will see you all next time. And if you're curious if I'm putting out more videos, I do plan on reviewing Katie Thurston's season when that starts, but I don't really plan on putting out more Bachelor videos unless the gossip gets hot again. If Bachelor Nation gets lit, I'll definitely put out another video like this. For my channel, I'm still in the phase of figuring out what works and like what doesn't work. So if you see a lot of different things on my channel, that's why. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.